Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into India's first bullet train.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we're going way beyond like the whole high-speed travel thing
Yeah.
to really understand, the impact it might have on India's economy.
I see.
We've got some really fascinating excerpts from a podcast episode
Oh, cool.
called India's Bullet Train, an economic revolution on rails
Okay.
from the Mighty Podcast.
Sounds promising.
So what we're really trying to figure out is, is this all just hype?
Right.
Or is this really going to be a game changer for India?
Good question.
And how did Japan's experience, with their bullet trains kind of inform how India is approaching this whole project?
Yeah, Japan's experience is definitely relevant here.
For sure. So, one of the things that really stood out to me
Yeah.
was this idea that it's much more than just a train, right? It's
Yeah.
like the railway minister said, it's an economic development engine.
I see.
So it's not just about connecting Mumbai and Ahmedabad. It's about, impacting all these other cities along the road as well.
Yeah, it's about creating a whole new economic corridor,
Yeah,
really.
exactly. And that's where the whole Japan thing comes in, right?
Right.
Like their first bullet train line, the Tokaido Shinkansen,
Yes.
that was huge for Japan, wasn't it?
It really was. It transformed cities along the route. Places that were, relatively quiet before suddenly became these major business hubs.
Wow.
And India's hoping to, kind of replicate that success.
So which cities are we talking about here?
Well, besides Mumbai and Ahmedabad, of course, you've got Surat, known for its textile industry,
Okay.
and Vapi, which is a growing industrial center.
Okay.
And then there's Thane, like a satellite city of Mumbai,
Yeah.
and Ahmedabad itself, which is already a pretty big economic player.
Yeah.
So, with better connectivity, these cities could really take off.
But what does that actually look like on the ground?
Well, imagine a small tea stall
Okay.
just outside one of the new bullet train stations, let's say, in Surat.
Oh.
And suddenly, this little stall is right in the heart of a booming business district.
Interesting. So like that tea stall could become some fancy cafe or restaurant overnight.
Exactly. It might seem small, but it shows how things could change at a local level.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And this isn't just hypothetical, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The project is already making some serious progress.
Right. Over 360 kilometers of the viaduct is done. That's a lot.
That's a huge chunk, yeah.
And they're using some pretty advanced technology, too.
Oh, absolutely. Like the Anand station, it's being built to handle speeds of 350 kilometers per hour.
Wow, that's incredibly fast.
It is.
So faster travel, potentially booming cities. But what about jobs? Like how many jobs will this project create?
Well, that's one of the biggest impacts. They're estimating maybe 1 to 2 lakh new jobs.
Wow. That's a lot of jobs.
Yeah, it's a massive number. And it's not just construction workers either.
Oh, right.
You're talking skilled engineers, technicians, and then the whole service sector that'll grow around these new economic hubs.
Yeah, it's pretty wide-reaching.
It really is. This isn't just about laying down tracks and running a train.
Right.
It has the potential to transform a whole region of India.
So let's dive into those potential economic benefits a little deeper.
Okay.
Because it's about more than just, getting people from A to B faster, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Think about business expansion, for instance.
Okay.
Imagine being able to do a day trip from Mumbai to Ahmedabad for a meeting.
Right.
That wasn't really possible before.
Yeah, it would take like 7 or 8 hours each way.
Exactly. Now you could do it in just 2 or 3 hours.
So that's a huge difference.
It is. It opens up so many possibilities.
And then there's real estate, right?
Yeah.
Like if you owned land
Right.
near one of these new bullet train stations.
Oh, you'd be in a good spot.
I bet.
Property values are expected to go way up.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And usually when you have better transport links,
Right.
it attracts big companies and investments.
Exactly. So we could see shopping malls, tech parks, factories,
Wow.
all popping up along the route.
It's like creating a whole new economic corridor.
It is.
And it's not just speculation either.
No.
I read that one railway official said business activity could increase 5-fold.
5-fold. That's a bold prediction.
It is. But it shows the potential scale of the impact,
Yeah, definitely.
So this bullet train project, it really does seem like it could trigger some major economic changes in India.
I think so.
But it can't all be smooth sailing.
Of course not. Every project has its challenges.
So what are we talking about here? What are some of those potential bumps in the road?
Well, for starters, delays are almost a given with a project this big.
Yeah, I hear you. Especially with these large infrastructure projects in India,
Right.
things don't always go exactly according to plan.
And then there's the cost, of course.
Yeah, building bullet trains is expensive, right?
Incredibly expensive. And that usually means high ticket prices.
So will everyone be able to afford to ride this train?
That's a good question. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's like you want something innovative and efficient,
Uh-huh.
but you also want it to be accessible to a lot of people.
Right. It's a balancing act for sure.
Definitely. But beyond those practical concerns, we should also think about, the bigger societal impacts.
Oh, absolutely. The social implications are crucial.
We've talked a lot about the economic benefits,
Yeah.
but how could this train change people's lives on a personal level?
Well, imagine families who've been separated by distance, maybe because of work or education.
Okay.
Now, they can visit each other more easily and more often.
Because it's faster and more convenient.
Exactly. So it could strengthen family ties,
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or think about students who can now access better schools in other cities
Right.
without having to endure these long, difficult journeys.
So this train could create a more connected society.
It could. It could open up opportunities that weren't there before.
But let's be realistic, there are potential downsides too, right?
Of course.
Yeah,
We have to
don't-
look at both sides.
Like, what about communities being displaced?
Yes.
Or the environmental impact of such a massive project?
Right.
And will these benefits really reach everyone in society?
Those are all valid concerns. We need to stay balanced in our perspective.
Absolutely. Because with big projects like this, there's always a risk
Uh-huh.
that they could actually make existing inequalities worse.
Yeah, if they're not implemented carefully.
So how do we make sure everyone benefits from this bullet train?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. It feels like a huge challenge.
It is a huge challenge. It requires careful planning, transparent community engagement, and a real commitment to equitable development.
So it's not just about building a faster train.
No.
It's about building a better future for everyone.
Exactly. It's about using this project as a catalyst for positive change in India.
Wow, that's a big responsibility.
It is.
It goes way beyond just engineering and construction.
It does. It needs collaboration from policymakers, businesses, communities.
It's amazing how this conversation has evolved.
How?
We started talking about a train,
No.
but now we're talking about the future of India itself.
In a way, yes. This project reflects India's larger ambitions and challenges.
It's like a microcosm of where India's headed as a nation.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
And it's just the beginning.
It is. It'll be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
Definitely. So, to our listeners out there, what do you think about all of this?
Yeah, we want to hear your thoughts.
Are you excited about India's first bullet train?
Or do you share some of the concerns we've talked about?
What parts of this conversation resonated with you the most?
Let us know.
Yeah, let's hear what they have to say. So, we've been talking about the economic benefits and social impact of this bullet train,
Right.
but it's time to address the elephant in the room.
The challenges.
Yeah, the potential downsides.
Of course.
Because no project this big is without its hurdles.
True, true.
So let's dive into those. What are some of those potential bumps in the road?
Well, one thing that comes to mind immediately is delays.
Delays. Yeah.
It's almost inevitable with a project of this scale,
Yeah, especially with big infrastructure projects, things rarely go exactly according to plan.
That's for sure. And then, of course, there's the cost factor.
Right. Building bullet trains isn't cheap.
Not at all. It's incredibly expensive, and that often translates to high ticket prices.
So will it be affordable for the average person?
That's a key question. Will it be accessible to everyone or just a select few?
Yeah. It's like you want something that's innovative and efficient,
Uh-huh.
but also something that a lot of people can actually use.
Exactly. It's a tough balance to strike.
Definitely. But beyond the practical issues like delays and costs,
Yeah.
we also need to think about the broader societal impacts.
Right. The social implications are a big part of this.
We've focused a lot on the potential economic benefits, but how could this bullet train actually change people's lives on a personal level?
Well, for instance, think about families who are separated by distance,
Okay.
maybe because of work or education, With this train, they could visit each other much more easily and frequently.
Because the travel time is so much shorter.
Exactly. So it could really strengthen family ties.
That's an interesting point.
Or consider students who might now have access to better educational opportunities in other cities.
Right, because they don't have to make those long, arduous journeys anymore.
Precisely. So it could open up doors that weren't there before.
So this train could actually create a more connected society.
I think it has the potential to do that, yes.
That's pretty amazing. But we also can't ignore the potential downsides.
Well, of course not. We have to be realistic.
Like, what about the possibility of communities being displaced because of the construction?
Yes, that's a valid concern.
And the environmental impact of such a massive project?
Absolutely. That's something we need to consider carefully.
And will the benefits truly reach all segments of society? Or will some be left behind?
These are all important questions. We need to maintain a balanced perspective.
For sure. Because with projects like this, there's always a risk that they could actually worsen existing inequalities.
If they're not planned and executed properly, that's a real danger.
So how do we ensure that everyone benefits from this bullet train?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Feels like a really big challenge.
It is a huge challenge. It requires a lot of things. Careful planning, transparent community engagement, and a genuine commitment to equitable development.
So it's not just about building a faster train.
No, it's about much more than that.
It's about building a better future for all of India.
Exactly. It's about using this project as a way to create positive change.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It is. It's a big responsibility.
It goes way beyond just the engineering and construction, doesn't it?
It does. It requires a collaborative effort from everyone. Policymakers, businesses, communities, individuals.
You know, it's funny how this conversation has evolved. We started by talking about a high-speed train,
Right.
and now we're talking about the future of India.
In a way, yes. This project really does reflect India's larger ambitions.
And its challenges.
Absolutely. It's like a microcosm of where India's headed.
As a nation.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
It's just the beginning.
It is. It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Definitely. So, to our listeners who are following this story,
Yeah.
what should they be paying attention to?
Well, I think it's important to go beyond just the headlines
Okay.
and really dig into the details.
Like what kind of details?
For instance, how are communities along the route being involved in the planning?
That's a good question.
Are they taking concrete steps to minimize the environmental impact?
Right.
And how will they structure the ticket prices to make sure it's accessible to a wide range of people?
Those are all really important questions.
They are. And as citizens, we have a responsibility to hold those in power accountable.
Absolutely. To ask those tough questions and demand transparency.
Exactly. Because this isn't just a project for the government or for businesses.
Right.
This is a project for all of India.
It's a project for the people.
It is. And we all have a stake in its success.
It's a good reminder that these big infrastructure projects, they're often about so much more than just, bricks and mortar.
Right.
Or even steel tracks.
They represent something bigger.
Yeah, they reflect our aspirations, our challenges, our values as a society.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into India's bullet train,
Yeah.
I think it's clear that this project is a bold step into the future.
It really is.
It symbolizes India's ambitions, its technological capabilities, and its determination to be a leader.
A leader on the global stage.
Exactly. But it's also a reminder that progress isn't a destination, it's a journey.
It is. And that journey requires careful planning, thoughtful execution, and a real commitment to making sure everyone benefits.
Well said. It's been a fascinating look at this ambitious project,
It has.
and I hope our listeners have come away with a deeper understanding.
A deeper understanding of what's at stake.
Exactly. And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring this topic
Yes, keep asking those critical questions, challenging assumptions.
and forming your own informed opinions.
Because ultimately, these are the conversations that shape the future.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time. So we've talked a lot about this bullet train project,
We have.
the potential economic boom, the social impact, the challenges ahead. But I guess it all comes back to that big question.
What's that?
Is this really an economic revolution on rails, like they're calling it?
Well, it certainly has the potential,
Yeah,
but potential doesn't always guarantee results.
true.
There are so many factors that'll determine the ultimate impact.
Right, like we talked about, making sure the project's executed well, managing those huge costs, making sure it's affordable,
Yes.
and minimizing the environmental impact.
All crucial aspects.
It's a complex situation with a lot of moving parts.
For sure. And things will keep changing as the project moves forward.
So for our listeners who are interested in this,
Yeah.
what should they be watching for as things develop?
I think it's important to look beyond the headlines
Okay.
and really dig into the details.
What kind of details?
Well, for example, how are they involving the communities along the route?
Right.
Are they taking concrete steps to protect the environment? And how will they price the tickets to ensure it's accessible to a wide range of people.
Those are all good questions.
They are. And we as citizens have a responsibility to hold those in power accountable.
Yeah, to ask the tough questions.
Exactly. And demand transparency.
Because this isn't just a project for the government or businesses.
No, it's not.
This is for all of India.
Exactly. It's a project for the people, and we all have a stake in its success.
It's interesting how, these big infrastructure projects,
Yeah.
they often represent so much more than just the physical construction.
Right.
Like, it's not just about the bricks and mortar.
It's about something bigger.
Yeah, they reflect our aspirations as a society, our challenges, our values.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into India's bullet train,
Uh-huh.
I think it's safe to say that this is a pretty bold step into the future for India.
It is.
It shows their ambition, their technological capabilities,
Yes.
their determination to be a global leader.
Absolutely.
But it's also a reminder that progress is a journey, not a destination.
That's a good point.
And that journey requires careful planning, thoughtful execution,
For sure.
and a commitment to ensuring that everyone benefits.
Well said.
It's been a fascinating conversation,
It has.
and I hope our listeners have a better understanding of what's at stake here.
I agree. And as always, we encourage you to keep learning about this project.
Yeah, keep asking those tough questions,
Challenge assumptions, form your own opinions.
because these conversations are what shape the future.
They really are.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time.